Hey, folks, Turbine Guy coming back at you. Today, the goal is to examine this article in the Star Tribune that just came out today, last night, in which you can see right here in the front page is Bradley Erickson. Hold on. We got to turn some lights off so that we can see a little better here. We got lights right in the... See how this works. Yeah, you ain't going to be able to see me. Wait a minute. I want to unplug the black one. That ain't going to help. I'm going to have to leave something on so y'all can see me. Sorry about any glare. Sorry about any glare. It is right on across the top of that. You know what I'm going to do, since there's nobody even here? I'm going to give this a little tilt. There we go. Glare is gone. Careful not to dump that. All right. Turbine Guy, back at you once again. Like I said, I'm going to go through the Star Tribune article. It's actually a very factual article, which is nice. There's a lot of missing holes, and the comments are actually quite comical, given supposedly I'm now married to a McMillan, according to someone, but we'll see. We'll see. So, bitter disputes in Orono pit unhappy residents versus officials. That's fairly accurate right there. Look, it's got 296 comments right now. Mayor Dennis Walsh calls his critics clowns as they dispute the city's land deals. He uses a lot more names than that, and that's actually really nice compared to what he typically says. Amid Dayton family opposition, Orono hits pause on beach development. That's a previous story. And Orono nature lover fights mountain bike trail in Beaterwood Park. That's another issue that needs to be resolved, and is going to be. There we go. This is written by John Ryan. I met him. We talked for a bit. Seemed like a pretty cool customer. Now, this is Brad Erickson. Everybody, this is Brad Erickson. Brad does have a very important grievance against the city of Orono, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But right here, they say Brad Erickson laughs angrily before storming out a city council meeting. He's been taking advantage of his public comments. The 3 minutes, it used to be 5 minutes. Now it's at the end of the meeting. See, that's something people don't understand. The city of Orono used to have 5 minutes of public comments, and they were kind of up near the front, so you could say what you had to say and leave. But the Walsh regime has reduced that 5 minutes to 3 minutes, and they slowly moved it down the agenda, so it's at the very end of the agenda now. It's his attempt to limit his critics and to limit the visual input or the people who see what they're saying. Now, next picture, there's Brad walking out afterwards. You can see Turbine Guy down here with my live stream going. Once again, here I am, and here's the very dopey looking Mayor Walsh. Now, I got to tell you, it was funnier than hell at the last council meeting because you got these three guys up there wearing suits. They never wear suits. They wear t-shirts. Heck, Walsh goes in and out of the council chambers barefoot. So this idea that they're wearing suits means someone tipped them off and that they were simply trying to put on a good show. There he is again. Hard to look at him. There's my wife, Kendall Nygaard. She offered to donate to Walsh's campaign $1,200, just like Bob Erickson donated to Walsh's campaign $1,200 last two times. And she had a check for $100,000 so that we can get our fire lane too, right? If they're selling fire lanes for $100,000, why can't we be on the list? Why can't everybody be on the list for it? I don't know. That's my wife. That's what she was doing. Here you've got me explaining now. It says Orono angrily criticizes the mayor. I wasn't angry. You know, I'm never angry when I'm up there. What I was doing was emphasizing the fact that they are violating state statutes in order to sell this fire lane to a sitting public official. And, you know, I saw the lawyer outside afterwards, and I talked to him, and all he had to say, Soren Maddock from Campbell Knutson, A real dippy-do in my mind. He cannot be bothered with following or finding statutes. See, Orono's a statutory city, which means it has to follow state statutes. Well, he can't be bothered with any of that. Not at all. So he kept saying that it was a vacation, not a sale. Well, you've got a contract with a dollar amount and a piece of land going that way. It's a sale. What the hell else is it going to be? All right. Well, is that the last pic? No, I think there's one. There's me too. I'm using my little tripod there to bang back at Walsh. It was really funny the last meeting too. Walsh and his real timid gavel bangs. Because if you watch any of the previous meetings, he is the gavel master. Because he watches the clock, and it doesn't matter what anybody's saying, even though he's up there to listen to them, supposedly. Right at 3 minutes, he gavels them out. You don't get a chance to finish your sentence. You don't get a chance to finish your thought. You're just done. That's Walsh. Yeah, and back to the main picture of Brad. The wealthy Lake Minnetonka suburb of Orono has long been the genteel home to Minnesota dynasties such as the Pillsburys, Crosbys, and Daytons. Place where power brokers work quietly behind the scene. And that's true. Very true. But in recent months, an ongoing clash between city officials and a determined group of critics has turned typically dull city council meetings into dramatic confrontations featuring shouting, threats, and displays of theatrical defiance by both sides. That's pretty too true, but I'll say the only person who's really been doing any shouting other than Walsh himself, or Crosby, Councilman Crosby, he's interrupted me numerous times yelling at me, is Brad Erickson. Okay, nobody else going up there has really gotten to the shouting level. When I'm up there and talking, I emphasize my voice because I know I'm streaming on YouTube and I want people to hear what I have to say. So I am merely trying to be heard. In recent council meetings, Orono Mayor Dennis Walsh has cursed a member of the public. Yeah, he used the F word. And sneeringly called former city's officials clowns. Right? You can see it in my videos. He pounds his gavel furiously when a speaker's allotted 3 minutes expire during public comment sessions. That is a very accurate statement. At a June meeting when Jay Nygaard, Turbine Guy, a former council member and one of Walsh's loudest critics, got up to speak, Walsh opened a newspaper and buried his nose in it for Nygaard's entire 3 minutes. That's exactly what he did. I mean, the amount of disrespect that is spewed upon the people by this council is just, it's mind-boggling. I used to be on the Orono City Council. I was elected when Jesse the Body was elected governor. And I was on the council myself. And I was on the Orono Planning Commission before that. And I never, ever in my life would have thought of treating people the way this council does. Limiting public input. I mean, it's like they don't even have work sessions anymore. All the work sessions are canceled. Well, how do you do city work in public so the public can see it if you don't have work sessions? Just goes to show, or it certainly appears to me, that Orono is rife with open meeting violations. Left and right, all over the place. And they don't care because no one's ever held them accountable. And I want to get back to that accountable word at the end when we start investigating this a little more. The clashes revolve largely around a series of land deals that the city has recently made or attempted to make, as well as criticism of Walsh's plan for Orono to start its own fire department after more than a century of using the service from neighboring Long Lake. Walsh says the fear is the work of a small group of crazies. Crazies. I'm crazy. Some of whom have threatened him. Nobody has threatened Walsh. Whatever he says, there has never been a physical threat to Walsh. And if there was, why isn't there a prosecution? There hasn't been. This is one more time Walsh's attempt to misrepresent the facts and to take something completely out of context. Okay, Walsh says the fear is the work of a small group of crazies, some of whom have threatened him. At Monday's regular council meeting, Walsh took time to publicly describe some of the dark, threatening attacks that he said have left him fearful for the safety of his family, city staff, and fellow council members. That is a joke. There's nobody threatening Walsh. In fact, Walsh is the one who came down to my property years ago, taking pictures of us, and threatened my family, our mortgage, my wife's job, and my kids. I made a police report, but the Orono cops couldn't be bothered with investigating him threatening us. Walsh threatens people all the time, at least from what I've seen. Nobody's threatened Walsh's physical safety or anyone else's. That is an outright lie. What he did was, Brad Erickson had been sending him a few texts. Like I said, Brad Erickson has a genuine axe to grind here. Walsh sent him some extreme right-wing propaganda that really upsets Brad, and it has to do with his family's heritage related to being in concentration camps and what his grandparents actually went through with concentration camps. And Walsh is sending him literature like that. And Brad is trying extremely hard to get the city council to acknowledge that this is wrong and to censure the guy. That's what Brad is doing. Doesn't seem like anyone's listening, but in between, Brad's been sending emails or text to Walsh basically saying, you can't run, you can't hide, you're going to be held accountable. That's not threatening anyone's safety. That's what he's been doing. This is about to take a real nasty turn to the kind you do not recover from, Walsh read aloud from an email he had received. And yes, that's what Brad sent him. And what Brad meant was, you are going to be exposed for the person you are, and you're not going to be able to politically recover. Now, this is a Walsh tactic. Walsh takes that and somehow messages everybody else that, oh, there's threats going on. Well, the only real threat that's going on is to Walsh's credibility. That's it. Some of the texts he's received are of such vile sexual nature that he couldn't read them out loud, Walsh said, adding that he's turned those texts over to the city attorney and nothing's happened. So, obviously these things aren't policy related, Walsh said in an interview. They're personal. There are these behind the scenes issues that are just relevant to 4 people, which is BS. Because whatever is going on with Brad and Walsh has nothing to do with me. Oh, look at that. Turbine Guy got a $2 deal there. Thank you very much. I got to pull this up so I can answer some comments in a minute, but I want to get through the article first, and then we can talk comments, if that's okay with everybody. But anyone else who wants to help donate, I'd really appreciate it. So he says just 4 people. That's not even close to true. I wasn't involved in any of this until they were going to give Summit Beach away to the rowing club, and I live streamed it, and thank goodness we had all the hoopla because the Dayton stepped in and saved the park, saved the beach from an exclusive use that Walsh and the council wanted to give to an exclusive club. They wanted to let them build their own building and take over the damn place. My goodness. Yet Walsh's critics, not all of whom are in the usual group that speaks at council meetings, say that his own actions fuel the flames. And it couldn't be a more true statement than that. Walsh's childish behavior, his inability to be respectful, are what's driving this Orono City Council circus going on up there. It's like, if you question Walsh, then you're his enemy. And that's how he looks at it. He looks at people, while I'm up there doing what I do to protect the city, Walsh looks at me as an enemy that's attacking him. See, that's, to me, paranoid delusional. At least that's what I see. Now, Tim Haltman, former mayor of Long Lake, you're supposed to be the voice and leader of the city. How can you do this, said Tim Haltman, former mayor of Long Lake. And one of the people Walsh dubbed as a clown. The people in this area say, let's go watch the circus, which is actually true. People do want to see the circus because something's always going to happen up there. The cordiality does not start at the podium or at the dais. Now, here's a real big issue, and this is what I've been hammering on, and what the city of Orono, the attorney, and everybody else is trying to just fluff away. Land deals in question. In one of the controversial land deals, the city signed over a Lake Minnetonka right-of-way access to Bob Erickson, a member of the city's planning commission, and a donor with his wife to Walsh's mayoral campaign. What it doesn't say, and it should say, is the only donor to Walsh's mayoral campaign the last 2 elections. So I guess if you donate $1,200 to Walsh's campaign, you get to have yourself a fire lane. Now, a lot of people don't understand what fire lanes are. I'm going to take a quick second to explain it, because this is the crux to what's so important. Fire lanes were platted many years ago, and they were platted from an office somewhere, and they put them where it seemed realistic to put these things according to the other stuff going on around it. And it's called a fire lane for a specific purpose. It's not, they now call it lake access points. You know, everyone's got to have new words. But a fire lane was there, so if your house was burning down, the fire truck had somewhere to dump their hose in the lake to save your house or your neighbor's house, because there are no fire plugs around the lake. They're just, you know, unless you get into like Excelsior or a couple other places. But typically the lake is devoid of fire plugs. So when a truck's there, all they have is the water in the truck, unless they can dump a hose in the lake and start sucking. Erickson owned lots on either side of the right-of-way, and the city's abdication of the land allowed him to combine his properties. In return, Erickson made a donation of $100,000 to the city's park fund. This is all contingent. The land deal would not go through unless Erickson donated this money and Orono vacated the land. This is a play on words that you, me, or anybody else sitting in a jury would see through just like that. But these lawyers in this council seem to think that doesn't matter. We're just going to keep playing our words, and we are going to give this sitting planning commissioner a fire lane to help him develop the recent properties he's been accumulating so he can have a bigger, better development. This is all a commercial deal going on, and it's all to benefit a sitting city official. Which, by the way, when I was up there on Monday night, I pointed out there are 2 different places in the League of Minnesota Cities handout on this kind of stuff that says you cannot sell city property to public officials. And there's one that says if you're going to buy or sell city land and the city has a comprehensive plan, you have to run it through the planning commission and compare it to the comprehensive plan to see if it meets those goals. That was never done either. So we have numerous statutes being violated by our city council, by our lawyer, and by the planning commissioner. Now, mind you, the planning commission voted not to do this. The DNR said don't do it. The city engineers said don't do it. All these people who are there to advise said don't do it, but they still completed the sale in order to help Mr. Erickson develop his land and make more money. That's what it appears like to me. I mean, because that's what it appears to be. The city engineer and State Department of Natural Resources opposed the deal, but the Orono planning staff signed off on it and the city council approved it. Orono planning staff, city council, planning commission, DNR, city engineer, no. Something to think about, isn't that, folks? Lily McMillan, a former mayor whom Walsh defeated in 2016, said that kind of deal never would have happened when she was mayor. And I agree. When I was on the council, we never would have even considered it. This was taxpayers' land, she said. We didn't give it away unless there was some crushing need to do so. If some need comes up, you'll never get it back. And that's what the DNR said. The previous councils were all about, we don't give this land away, we don't care how much people offer. And until Walsh showed up, Orono land was sacred. But with Walsh here now, nothing is sacred. Nothing. Walsh said the right-of-way on Stubbs Bay was among several in the area and wasn't needed any longer. The shoreline was swampy and inaccessible, he said, and given Erickson the property allowed him to clean up the area by demolishing several homes and combining property in order to make more money. He forgot to finish that sentence. In order to help develop the land and make more money. Walsh forgot to finish his sentence there because there's no other reason this happened. Critics also have faulted Walsh and the council for entertaining a proposal to allow a rowing club to build a boathouse at Summit Beach Park on Long Lake, land donated to the city by the Dayton family. After public opposition, including by former Governor Dayton, the proposal was tabled. That's what it took to stop these illegal actions going on up in Orono. You know, cities have processes to do things. Orono does it by resolution. That's called ruling by fiat. It's not a democracy. See, controversy has also arisen over the city's decision to allow a mountain bike trail to be built in Beederwood Park. Barbara Schmidt, who lives next to the park, is suing the city over the trail plan and is another frequent attendee at council meetings. What this doesn't say here is the reason there's a lawsuit is the city gave permission for this bike club to use her property, knock down stuff on her property, and abuse her property. That's why there's a lawsuit. It's not simply because there's a bike club in the park. Now, that's a whole nother separate issue that they're ruling by fiat because Orono passed a resolution allowing these bike club in this park and to tear up a natural area, but it's against city ordinance. City ordinance specifically prohibits any bikes in parks unless there's a trail. So how do you write a resolution that violates an ordinance? How do you write a resolution that gives away a park? How do you vote to give a fire lane to a sitting public official? You do that when what I would call you're corrupt. You do not have the public interest at heart. You have private interest. Future of the fire department. Now, this is a big issue too here. A lot of people don't understand, and we'll see this in the comments, that Orono is completely surrounded, or Long Lake is completely surrounded by Orono. Long Lake is like a locked city with Orono all the way around it. For years and years, 107 years actually, Long Lake Fire Department existed because it was like the downtown area of Orono. And there's a Navarre area too, but this is where it was. And then Orono also contracted out to Mound. Well, when that contract ended a few years ago, Long Lake put a substation in Navarre, in Orono, in Navarre, to help fulfill the area. Well, Long Lake is like the little brother, and Orono's like the big brother. And right now, Orono, in my opinion, because I grew up in both. I lived in Orono till I was 7, then Long Lake all the way through high school, and then I moved back to Orono after I was finished in the Navy and getting my college degree at the U, my mechanical engineering degree. So I consider both of these towns my hometowns. And I am one of a few people out here who have a unique understanding. I know the Long Lake mayor is kind of similar to me. He does too, because he grew up in Orono. But Long Lake is tired of being pushed around by Orono. Long Lake wants Big Brother to like it instead of bully it. Well, what's going on with this fire station deal is Orono is playing the pure bully card and trying to just push Long Lake out of the way and take the fire department, which is ridiculous. Because it's like a Big Brother trying to break up a family. Walsh just doesn't understand how people out here are together. All right, let me get back down. Oh, ended up higher. We're going to the fire department now. Oh, fire department. There we go. Another contentious issue is the fire department shared by the cities of Long Lake and Orono, and a little more, for more than 100 years. The Long Lake Fire Department has provided fire service to Orono under a joint services agreement, with each city paying proportionate to its use, which makes sense. However many people you're serving, you should be paying kind of that much. That worked when Orono was much smaller, but now with Orono's population about 6 times the size of Long Lake's, Orono's paying about 85% of the cost of the joint department. Orono recently gave notice as provided for in the contract that it will terminate its participation at 2025 to make plans for its own fire department. Okay, that's kind of factual. Because the contract, it says that worked when Orono was much smaller. That worked just fine in 2015. It worked just fine in 2010. Orono has not grown in size very much since then. So the contract was working just fine until what? Until Dennis Walsh shows up as mayor. That's the issue. It's not how the contract was set up. It's not how things were working. You know, Orono had to bug up its rear end, basically. Oh, well, we aren't in charge, and we can't discipline people. We can't this. So what? So you're not in charge of something. Just use the service and be happy about it. It's there. It's history. Why are you trying to erase the history? That upsets some Long Lake residents who say their larger sister city and its leaders are power hungry. Long Lake Mayor Charlie Miner, noticing that the cities are still negotiating the fire district relationship, was hesitant to criticize the actions of Orono leadership. Well, of course he's hesitant. They're so damn touchy and thin-skinned up at Orono that they can't even handle a few people coming up for 3 minutes, a couple times a month to voice their opinion. You got to watch out with these guys. Due to the delicacy of our negotiations going on now, I don't really want to say too much about it because many Orono residents already have. Holtman, the former Long Lake mayor, wasn't as hesitant. Orono never had any real issues with fire service until this Walsh took over, and they decided they should take over immediately. Which says just what I said a minute ago. There were no problems at all until Walsh showed up. He's just totally on a power trip, which is a very accurate statement from what I see. Walsh said he's proud of his 6-year tenure as mayor. The city has improved its parks and its finances are in better order. That's 100% BS. The Orono debt has increased. Our fees are skyrocketing. You know what those people did up at City Hall? We used to pay fees quarterly. They've shifted it to monthly so it doesn't look as much. So now 12 times a year we have to make payments instead of 4, and that was all done to disguise the doubling and tripling of fees in this city, which is just another form of taxes. You're going to sit here and say taxes haven't gone up. So what? What about fees, buddy? What about the fees? For the first time, Walsh said the city has a dedicated road fund, and that's not dependent on periodic property assessments. Orono has a AAA bond rating, which was there long before Walsh showed up. He added, and has been catching up on sewer, water, and infrastructure projects neglected under his predecessors, which is BS. The only reason there's sewer around the lake is because of his predecessors. The only reason Lake Minnetonka is so clean is because of his predecessors. Once they put sewer around the lake really did clean up. Unfortunately, it's getting worse again. I put things back on the right track, he says, and we have not had to raise our tax capacity in 10 years. Yeah, because you're doubling and tripling fees. I think some mayors might be a little bit jealous. Trust me, nobody is jealous of this guy. In fact, 8 different mayors, 4 from Long Lake and 4 from Orono, wrote a letter, and they were just like, this is ridiculous what you're doing to our community. They're not jealous. They're sad. They're upset. They worked so hard to develop what we had, and Walsh is doing everything he can to tear it down. Yeah, 297 comments. I'm not going to go through and read them all, but let's touch on some of these just for fun. What do you think? By the way, here's me, Lodi 45. So when you see that, that'll be me. Dreamweaver, this is a sad reflection on our political world today. I do not know who is right or wrong in these discussions. The mayor has the obligation, position, and authority to bring order to these meetings. Well, what if the mayor is the one who's in disorder? Before he got his gavel and started doing that 3 minutes, just about every time I'm up there talking, I got him and Crosby interrupting me. I can't just have my 3 or 5 minutes. They've got to be interrupting and yelling at me. But you know what Walsh has gone to now? For a couple of meetings, he had what I call thugs come into the meetings to try to intimidate me, Brad, and others, and interrupt us and prevent us from it. There's been an admission in the background that Walsh has asked, and I've actually got a text message showing Walsh to ask people to show up to counter the crazies. Walsh is actively bringing thugs in order to interfere with people's right to free speech. That's a violation of the misconduct code. Remember, first of all, the over 70,000 page of the RX task code. We aren't going to go into that one. It doesn't get any dirtier than small town politics. A big fish in a small pond is a real thing. I agree with that. I can't say if Mayor did what he claims, but it is certain that he is a jerk and that is gaslighting people and claiming he's the victim. Those aren't my words. That's someone else who's their own opinion, circa 1963. If they pay 85% of the fire department, they definitely should have their own fire department. Well, but then once again, you're ignoring the history. Brad Erickson looks like he just got out of jail for January. What's January 6th got to do with this? I'm sorry, that's a stupid comment. Is that Fidel Castro? No. Brad Erickson seems like a treat. Act like an idiot and then storm out of a meeting. Super effective. I'll agree that it might not be the most effective, but like I said and tried to explain, he does have an actual grievance that nobody up there at the city is willing to deal with. Looks like the older people get, the more they revert back to the middle school days. You would think that once you're an adult, you could have an adult conversation, but apparently not. Not really sure what that means, because if you watch the meetings, you're going to see that these are adult conversations. If you're interested in running for office at any level, be prepared to deal with a guy like the one pictured. See, and that's, one more time, that's taking shots at Brad without understanding the situation. Read the story and you'll find the guy in office is all about me. And he's talking about Walsh. And that's absolutely true. A double dog dare any of these upset people to run for an office and navigate the shark tank of insanity that is public service. Good luck and enjoy being at the other end. I did. Okay, dare me. I ran and I won. And I didn't find it hard to be respectful to people. There were a lot of grievances when I was in office, a lot of things I completely disagreed with. But for some reason, we were all able to have decorum and be respectful. The difference between then and now, who's the mayor? Who's running the show? You know, something y'all don't know. Right after Walsh got elected, the city staff voted to unionize. Because Walsh got in and fired two or three secretaries that have been with the city forever, very nice ladies, because he simply didn't like them. So the city staff actually unionized to protect themselves from this mayor. How often does that happen? By the way, I did run. So I do have, and I was on the planning commission in Orono too. So I do have the history where I can speak to this stuff from experience. I like this one. There's plenty of land in Orono and a perfect location for the new minimum security prison to be built in 2023. Now, of course, I couldn't help myself. Orono can jail all of its critics in the city right here. You don't have to pay to send them anywhere else. You know who you're dealing with when they refer to raising homes as cleaning up. Can't have any of those low-value homes infecting Orono now, can we? That's a good one. Seems like a rich person problem, but it isn't. See, that's a misnomer there. It's not a rich person problem. The fire lanes are for poor people to have access. People from Minneapolis, Brooklyn Center, St. Louis Park, wherever, even in Orono, who don't live on the lake, so that they can go down this fire lane, they can throw a pole in and fish, their dog can swim, a couple of things. You know, some of them have been made into swimming beaches. So these fire accesses actually do serve a real purpose. And as the DNR called out, lake levels change and fluctuate. And you don't know in 50 or 100 years where the lake level is going to be. That's why we need to keep these accesses for the future. You can't expect everything to be like it is now. Yeah, this guy in the lead photo is for sure a Tom Hanks lookalike. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. What does the citizens want? Anybody ask them? Media, paper, politicians. Good question. Actually, the media did ask this time. The media asked quite a bit. Seems like we need a problem solver to figure this mess out. Oh, and then they go after Dean Phillips. And I gotta agree, I haven't seen Dean Phillips out here. Okay. They just sent Kerry to solve the Iran crisis. That's funny. I need to go to the next city council meeting. Yes, and bring popcorn. I mean, this stuff is entertaining, and you need to get up and speak yourself. You need to make your opinion known. They're trying to limit public input as much as possible, which means we as a public have to work as hard as we can to get it out there. I wanted to speak to the planning commission, about giving away the fire lane and all that, and they refused to allow me a couple of minutes to speak. And you know who directed that? Walsh. He was standing right there telling the planning commissioner, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. They are trying to prevent us from pointing out their criminality. See, I bought a license plate. That's no big deal. So the mayor thinks building a new fire station, equipping it and staffing it will be cheaper than the 85% share the city of Orono is paying now. That's what I've got to see. Pleased to say I don't live in Orono. And that really brings up a great point. And I've talked to Mr. Gabriel Jabor, who is former mayor, councilman, a lot of other stuff. And he brought up a very good point to me. They aren't going to be able to man it. There aren't enough blue-collar people out here that are willing to do it. They already have a hard time staffing the one Long Lake station. How are they going to staff two? The people are not there. And if they're not going to be able to staff it and they need people there, they're going to have to start paying them. How much is that going to cost to have full-time firefighters? This is all just nonsense. Thank you for that comment, voter one. Combined fire departments allow for greater capabilities, greater efficiency, have been proven models for decades. Absolutely true. And then, they talk about the percentage again, but one more time I make the point, the 15% part is irrelevant. The history is the important part. Orono's trying to erase that history. That's what's been going on. Old Brad there might want to seek out some anger management help before he gets unhinged. Brad's already gotten as unhinged as he's going to. There's nothing else that's going to happen. And he has a right to be angry. The topics that he's dealing with are very sensitive topics. Sounds like he was screaming like a little kid and the cowardly ran out the door before anyone could challenge his pissy attitude. Brad leaves every time after making the comments because to him, this is emotionally draining and it's hard, and he just has to leave the whole situation at that point. The unbelievable pettiness of these issues. Why not let the boathouse be built? Why not let a mountain bike trail be constructed? Get over yourselves. Why not? Because you know what? It's public land. There's a process. There's statutes. There's ways you accomplish these goals. And Orono has been subverting all these laws, processes, and ordinances and writing resolutions. It's like the president, whether it be Biden or Trump or anybody, writing an executive order that violates a law. That's what's going on up at Orono City Hall. And it's just wrong. Wrong. If you want a boathouse on Summit Beach, you go through the proper process to do it. If you want a bike trail in Beaterwood, you go through the process. You don't hand it over to the bike club and tell them they can do whatever they want, which is what has happened. That's what I say. First, Orono gave permission for the bikers to use the private property, which is in a lawsuit now. Second, there is no room where they want to put it. Third, it violates city ordinances. Fourth, they violate city process allowing it. Do any of these facts matter? You go in comments further down, you imply that you're the subject of the picture at the top of the story. If so, explain the verbal exchange. I'm not Brad Erickson. I'm certainly not Brad. See, nothing. Certainly not Brad Erickson. But I am in the pictures. And I am the Turbine Guy. And I am Lodi 45. And I'm more than happy to not hide behind a moniker like some of these people do. And we'll see that people are taking shots at me later. Right here, I'm certainly not Brad Erickson. I'm Jay Nygaard, a.k.a. Turbine Guy. Wrote a comment explaining such as Strib has chosen not to publish it. I wrote a nice long comment up at the top summarizing things. The Strib refused to put it up there. So, and in it, the first thing I say is, I am Jay Nygaard. I'm doing a live stream shortly. Here we are. We'll go through this article. How about letting people have fun for a change? I'm not against fun. Who is? There's a lot of people have fun in that park. They have soccer, they have ball, there's a playground for the kids. There's all kinds of people having fun that went through the normal, standard, typical approval process to do. It has nothing to do, and that's the whole point. It's not, I don't like bikes or biking, I don't like rowing clubs or rowing. No, I don't like cities that violate their own laws and choose that they are going to criminally prosecute their residents for property issues. I've been prosecuted 4 times in the city. I throw my wife in, that makes 5. Not one single conviction, plea deal, or anything, because we never did nothing wrong. If they're going to spend all this time and money trying to harass us, why don't they learn how to follow the law? Shouldn't they be leading by example? Shouldn't the leaders up at Orono follow statutes, laws, and processes before they start pointing the fingers and actually prosecuting other people? Just a quick aside. To get off 5 times in Hennepin County with a 2% conviction rate, we are 4 times more likely to win the Powerball than get off 5 times. That's how rare what my wife and I have accomplished is. Well, people say I should go buy lottery tickets, but I blew it all. I blew it all on getting off on these bogus prosecutions. Let's see, I agree. My kid from outstate has done regattas there. A boathouse would be a plus for the community and tourism. But it would be a huge negative for the park and the people who use it. There's just not room for this boathouse they wanted was huge. I went and put cones out and I pasted off and I made a video about it. It was ridiculously large. It was going to take up half of the usable space in that park. It was outright ridiculous. And why did the rowing club want to do that? Oh, they got kicked out of their other place right up the shoreline there. So they were booted out of somewhere else for their behavior. Couldn't get a deal going there, and so they wanted to abscond with a public park to do it. And someone says, sorry, but the boathouse was a private clubhouse, so no, it would ruin the beach in small grove of old growth trees. It would actually diminish tourism. I'll give that guy a like. Here we go. Once mountain bikers are zooming through the park, it will become dangerous for walkers. At least it will seem dangerous when the bikers zip across pedestrian trails. There are no trails in the park, which makes it illegal for biking. That will discourage walkers from using the park. Oh, yeah, having the bikes all over is going to discourage it, and it's going to eat it up. Mountain bikes have big knobby tires, don't they? Wonder what those tires are for. I see. To get traction and to dig through the dirt. How can big knobby tires not hurt it? And then just recently, motorized bikes were seen in the park. So it's gone from mountain bikes now to motorized mountain bikes. What's going to be next? Okay, mountain bike trails can be designed so that bikers have to stop or at least slow down dramatically at pedestrians. There are examples of this around the metro area, but there are no trails there. You're missing the whole point. There is nowhere for them to ride because there are no trails. Right here, this is me again. It has nothing to do with different or fear-mongering. It has to do with council that prosecutes old ladies for renting out dock space, but then chooses to violate its own ordinance that will. It was illegal for bikes to be in parks in Orono unless there are trails to ride on. I did not make that ordinance, so don't blame me. There are no bike trails in Beaterwood, thus no bikes can ride there. Pretty simple. Making statements like it's fear-mongering is extremely disingenuous. Okay, gray lady. I want to draw your attention to the caption underneath the photo and ask why the Star Tribune reporter editor trying to provoke by using the phrase laugh angrily. I'll take a little bit of gumption with that too, because I wasn't, they said I was angrily something. I wasn't angrily anything. So, not quite happy with that myself. Where'd the comments go? This happens. The Star Tribune site will do that from time to time. There we go. Back down to where we were. No, we're way below. Mary, what if I'm looking for Gray Lady? There she is. Okay. That caption is laughed bitterly in the print edition. So I actually changed it from the print to the digital edition. Maybe sarcastic laughing would work, yeah. Do you see the image on his cell phone, the Joker? He's probably trying to mimic a menacing, maniacal laugh, which is what it was. What Brad was playing at the end of the last meeting was one of the dark, extreme right-wing videos that Walsh had sent to him privately. Now, I can't put these videos on my YouTube channel or I would be dumped. Same with Facebook. So the content in these is very questionable, and that's what has Brad upset. Follow the money on the approvals. Well, that's $1,200 to Walsh's campaign, $1,200 to his campaign again. You get the fire lane. Here we go. This actually, with all the serious issues going on in our country and the world, and this is so insignificant. Really? Giving away the people's land to a sitting commission. Now, the ordinances or the state statutes they violated by selling this fire lane were written specifically to prevent the type of corruption that is going on in Orono right now. That is why else would those statutes be there but to prevent this type of corruption. So no, I completely disagree with you. Sticks 55 413 whatever, because if we don't monitor the little things around us, we're going to lose them. So it is just as important. important. The saying, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, applies to this mayor. Hiding behind a newspaper, what a child, which is what he did to me for 3 minutes. Held up a newspaper during my public comment period, and he just kept looking at the clock and waiting till he could bang his gavel at me. He is a child, certainly, when he behaves like that. Yeah, we used to do that in high school. And they go through about how students would do that and stuff in the audience, and that's fine. But when you're a sitting public official and you've been elected to a position, you have a duty to listen to the constituents. Now, something I got to mention about Walsh. He never attended ethics training, and he lied about it. I got a video that shows that. You can see it on my channel. I'm no dummy. I did a data request. I knew who had attended ethics trainings. And I asked, and he lied. He saw other people raising his hand, so he kind of raised his like a little kid. And I busted him. Now, if you're going to lie about attending ethics training, anything's fair game. So anything he says in this article is so questionable or suspect. The guy lied about ethics. Busted. Turbine Guy busted him on that one. He doesn't seem to have much respect for the public he serves. Correct. Biggest Doggos. He said giving Erickson the property allowed him to clean up the area by demolishing several homes. I can't believe I just read that. That's my whole point. I'm down with Biggest Doggos. That's my whole point. Okay, now they go to another city. Old money clashing with the nouveau rich. It's ugly. And that brings up a really interesting point. There's a lot of old money in Orono, and there's a lot of new money. Someone's got a comment in here, talks about that. If a place you want to move is so nice you want to move there, why do you want to change it? It's a very good question. Okay, this one's about Georgia. That worked when Orono was much smaller, but now with Orono's population about 6 times the size of Long Lakes, Orono is paying about 85% of the cost. Sounds to me like Orono should have been taking a look at the relationship about 50 years ago. Well, why? They actually did look at it. They put together a contract where the two cities worked together. They chose at that point, or city elders, that was the best route to go. That is a good one. If you're paying 85%, why would you want to pay 100%? Good question. I live in Carver County. We outsource our police and sheriff's department. We use mostly volunteer firefighters. It's much more cost effective. And that's absolutely true, but Orono Police Department ain't going away. The growth to Orono may have placed outlying addresses too far away from the Long Lake Fire Station. I suppose there have been articles devoted to the topic, but one additional sentence might have been summarized. That's not really true. Maple Plain Fire, they were contracted with Maple Plain Fire Department for the one side of the city. Mound's on the other side. There's a fire station in Navarre, which helps cover Minnetonka Beach. I don't think that's an issue. Yep, exactly. If you look at Long Lake, it's entirely within Orono. Naturally, the fire department was originally built when the town center was there. Yeah, but you have to understand, this isn't Apple Valley. There are not huge housing developments anywhere. Everything's 1, 2, 5, and 10 acres. There's big open spaces around. So it's not like there's this huge population density. And let's be realistic. Come on. Let's be honest. What are the fire departments out here for? They're to save your neighbor's house when your house is burning down. Fire department's never going to make it to your house in time, but they're here to save your neighbor's house. You know, if that's what it is, that's what it is. But we have to be realistic about that. Love the pics. Oh, Rexaboo's big eye. She loves the pictures. Father Hen. Walsh is just another right-wing bully who thinks he should always get his way. Just look at his Facebook page, full of propaganda about our education system, supposed crime levels, etc., designed to scare low-information voters. Political discourse in general has devolved due to Trump and his obnoxious behavior. There's no excuse for threats to someone's safety, but Walsh and his cronies have hijacked the city and are taking the Trumpian approach to governing, break the law to get what you want, than Stonewall. And me as a libertarian, I'm a center road guy. I ran for Senate as libertarian. People try to classify me left. Oh, I'm a big liberal because I'm green or conservative. No. I'm a middle of the road guy. I really don't care what you do as long as you don't hurt somebody else or steal public land or something like that. What the hell do I care, right? But the political discourse in this country, this is all I'm going to say about it, isn't just Trump. That's a two-way street. And me, from sitting at the middle, looking at these two parties doing this, I don't see much difference in either side. Sorry. That's just me. But I do completely agree. Walsh is just another right-wing bully. No question in my mind about that. Not at all. And he's taken the big government approach to governing, break the law to get what you want, and then Stonewall. It's exactly what's going on. This became total clickbait as soon as Trump's name is mentioned. Yet you have no defenses of Walsh's behavior. Yeah, that's true. There is no defense for his behavior. I've heard the same things about him for years. This is even another person, March 1944. A bunch of Cadillac liberal, this is Accusations. I don't know. A bunch of the Catholic liberals who can't seem to get along. Imagine that. This guy is known for his cronyism. There's a ton more stuff the Strib could dig up on the other suspicious deals and plenty of quid pro quo Joe stuff he's done with other wealthy people in the area. And that's absolutely true. There is no question in my mind that that is absolutely true, that he is known for his cronyism. And there's a lot of backhanded, under-table deals that go on in this city to benefit a specific few, while others get the shaft. Cadillac liberals, that actually might be accurate for him. It is a conservative area. He's a Cadillac conservative, let's put it that way. Welcome to the comments section every day. I don't know, these people are taking shots at everybody. Girl Gone Wild. You have to love GOP types like Bill McGuire, who wanted a new soccer stadium, decided to pay for it himself. Bike Lane Betsy really blew that deal. United Healthcare leaders, most of whom are GOP, needed a safer highway overpass, so they paid it for themselves. Well, that's interesting. Not really pertaining. Speeder Gillis. Orono, like Minneapolis, has a police force that does almost nothing. In front of our house, there's a continual drag strip of cars and bikes speeding away from Fletcher's and the Narrows, yet you never see the police outside their vehicle. They let the vehicle noise rage on. Walsh and his do-nothing policy got to go. We tried and failed to get Orono to abandon a 40-foot strip of land going to a swamp. We were told the city of Orono never gives up any city-owned property. Orono has boodles of money. It's one of the richest communities in America. So listen to this. According to Speeder Gillis, Orono cops don't do nothing. Now, I have a huge agreement with Mr. Speeder and Mrs. Speeder Gillis there. That's a whole new Pandora's box. I got 2 bullet holes in windows of my house, and Orono couldn't be bothered to investigate or question anybody. But when I had footprints in the snow going to the neighbors where my daughter retrieved a soccer ball, it was an 8-page police report, or 12-page, complete with, I think, 6 or 8 pictures of my wind turbines on different pages. It just, I mean, it's a Keystone Cops going on up there. And they even admitted to me when they prosecuted my wife and I, forget this, failure to obtain a permit to replace a driveway because we refused to put a lip on it. I refused. My wife had nothing to do with it. I refused to put a lip on the driveway to stop city stormwater issues. I mean, nobody else had to. Why should I have? Why are you forcing me to do this? Why? The cops admitted they just signed off on what the city workers said and prosecuted us with a probable cause statement. They could not be bothered to drive out to the driveway and see there was a lip. They couldn't be bothered to talk to my wife and I and interview us. They couldn't be bothered to do anything but sign a piece of paper and send it for prosecution. I agree on the Orono Police Department. Now, interesting point at the end of this comment. Orono, they tried to get Orono to abandon a 40-foot strip of land going to a swamp. That sounds exactly like Westlake Road Fire Lane that's been sold to the planning commissioner. And they were told Orono never does that. Yet, Here it's happening in violation of numerous state statutes. I smell corruption. Deep-seated corruption. Okay. Get down to the next one. Looks like the whole city needs a lesson in manners and how to behave. Threatening letters, emails are a horrible thing to send. The mayor reading a newspaper in public meeting that he's chairing is disgraceful. I don't particularly care for my mayor or city council person here in St. Paul, but I don't send them threatening correspondence or disrespect them in public. I let them know I disagree with them in a civil manner. We need to get back. Like I said earlier, that starts at the top. Walsh abandoned civility a long time ago. Walsh wants a civil meeting. Maybe he should start looking in the mirror and see where it starts. Okay, more national stuff. Sounds like our HOA board meetings, lots of dysfunctional behavior. And that's why I moved to Orono. So you wouldn't have to deal with all this petty crap. But that's what it's turned up into. Unfortunately, that's what you have when you have an incompetent staff and incompetent officials or corrupt officials. I would never move to an HOA. Okay, local politics is much more interesting than national. Well, all depends on what you consider to be interesting. I mean, I don't consider officials violating state statutes to slap each other on the back with city and citizens' property interesting. I consider it criminal. Wow, these are adults. Well, but a lot of these comments, people haven't watched the meetings. By the way, all these meetings recently are on my YouTube channel. I've live streamed most of them. I've made videos out of the important parts. And to me, it's definitely worth watching to see what happens. Can't wait for the mountain bike trail to open. We will be spending a lot more time there. There is no trail. It's the whole problem. There never was a trail. There is not a trail. If there was a trail, that'd be one thing. It's not there. Court date is next year, so don't hold your breath. 2 children masquerading as citizens screaming and banging objects. I feel sorry for Mayor Walsh. Yes, and holding up newspaper when someone is speaking is the action of an adult. Sounds like children all around. Here's me. And I'm responding to the no-man guy. Maybe try actually watching a few meetings from the last few months. You might actually be able to make an adult comment yourself. And right here, March 1944, his own authority and behavior has elicited disrespect. That's what I've been trying to say. Al's daughter. I'm not going to deal with the Trump comment. Why do people in Long Lake care so much about Orono? Maybe they should watch your own bobber. The land deal that the city of Orono made created more tax revenue. False. This did not create any more tax revenue. False statement. And got $100,000 for the parks. It doesn't matter. You cannot sell to a public official. Creating a fire department is a wise move in a very fast-growing city. One more time, Orono's not a fast-growing city. When I ran for council years ago, we had over 30-some hundred houses and 7,500 residents, and we're just about the same now. So that's not factual at all. It's not even close. Orono is not a fast-growing city. It never will be because of the way it's zoned. Although the Met Council would love for us to have all kinds of this, it's not going to happen. Bike trails and boathouses are bad for lake communities. That's not the point. They're great for lake communities if they're done properly. And here's me. You have it all wrong. Orono is strong-arming Long Lake over a fire station. Long Lake has provided for over 100 years, 107 years. Orono's trying to take it from Long Lake. How would you like what is supposed to be a partner city doing that to your town? Okay, corruptly stealing public land and building a private boathouse on what is supposed to be a public beach isn't good for lake communities or any community. That's big drone. Wait a minute. Natural resources aren't for everyone? Why do niche sports get our parks? Why does a city official get to privatize public lakeshore that was for everyone? City is actually limiting public land to single-use activity. That one is correct. Trends 11. The whole article really showcases the lack of real problem. No, that's not true at all. We do have real problems. It's called corruption. That's real everywhere. Real everywhere. Now, once again, I see I got a $2 donation there. Anyone else who feels free or would like to, please feel free to donate. I'm going to go through the chat after I go through some of these comments and respond to people's questions. Now, here's a privatize the fire department. Okay, great. I don't think that's a good idea. You know, it is hilarious because as someone said down here, privatize the fire department, you say? This is Ron Johnson. So I guess a fireman would not turn on their hose until a credit card has a swipe and been approved. That's pretty good. The Orono Council is going to screw up their fire department just like Lino Lakes did. Well, of course they are. Orono screws everything up these days. Orono's a strange place. Years ago, they disallowed having a treatment center for people with eating disorders because they were concerned about the type of people it would bring to the city. And I completely agree with that comment. Completely. It was going to be a center right next to the Minnetonka Arts Center. It was going to be a place for girls with eating disorders to go. And the neighborhood got all in an uproar and said all this crime and everything else. They completely mischaracterized what was going to happen. That was wrong. That treatment center should still be in Orono for girls and women who have eating disorders. And I don't think these girls are going to be going next door and breaking in to eat. You know? NIMBY thrives in this wealthy city. And yes, it actually does. Very good point. Oh, yeah, how about this? We had a mayor in New Hope tried to run the city like a business. He managed to irritate many people and was replaced by a mayor who listened to both the residents and staff and found a way to keep everyone happy and engaged. The current Orono mayor sounds a lot like he falls in the first category and not the latter one. Absolutely love these stories. Keep them coming and more pictures, please. Yeah, that one of Brad is, I gotta say, it really is a good picture of Brad. I mean, if you know Brad and know his character and know his intent, that's a great picture of Brad. Okay, and we don't need to talk about Ukraine. Okay, here we go. Washburn 66. What stands out to me, see? Well, yeah, it did it right while I was looking, didn't it? Now I got to go back and find it again. That was a good 297 comments. We've added 4 comments since this started. I got to go all the way down. Oops. Give me a minute, please, people. Load more. And we're getting down there. The HOA one, I got to load more again. Okay. Getting there. Okay, yeah. Let's get the highest bidder to get the quickest response. I do not want government out of our fire department. Please, yeah, okay, that's going back to that fire department stuff. Okay, love these stories. Keep them coming. And there's your Ukraine bit. Here we go. Washburn 66. Sorry for that delay, folks. What stands out to me is the Orono City Engineer and DNR opposed the land deal. And so did the Planning Commission vote against it. So you've got 3 of them that opposed it. Orono made a huge mistake. Yes, they did. Now, Orono City Engineer is also the city administrator now, which is true. I've never seen that in a city like this. Never seen it. Wonder how long that'll last. And my comment here, he's not very competent. That's why we'll keep him around to do his bidding. And that's definitely my feeling. I've had a run-in with Adam Edwards, the Orono City Administrator, who's also supposed to be an engineer. But this, what I call moron, said to me when we bought the house next door that city water entering the driveway was the driveway settling. And that's my problem. I wrote back to him, what, do you think I'm a moron? The driveway's 30 years old. Your road is 2. The road is a problem, and your city engineers installing this road screwed up. So I have personal experience to the fact that Adam Edwards is either not very bright or just corrupt or lazy, I guess. He could be lazy too. The city needs homeless shelters for the elites who love open borders. Okay. Is the angry Erickson pictured related to the other Erickson who got the right of way? No, absolutely not. Oh, here we go. I think, actually, let's see. Is the angry Erickson pictured? Okay, and then this, someone said, okay, is the angry Erickson pictured related to the other Erickson? Answer is no. But in response to that, you're using a fake name. No sides here on issue, but saying someone is insulting you with a fake name and you using one. Very strange to be kind. Well, actually, show more of this conversation. Okay. Okay, the whole thing. And the angry, truly unhinged guy in the photos doesn't even live in Orono. He's simply an acolyte of the equally crazy Jay Nygaard. Now, this Tonka Dreamer, whatever it is, can't even spell my name right. Only one A. And he calls me crazy. So he's calling me names behind a pseudonym. I say, very nice of you to insult me behind a fake name. Nice character there yourself. You're using a fake name. No sides here on the issue, and they're saying this to me. Yet I expose myself by my comment. Thus, I am not hiding behind my fake name. I even put a comment on top that was saying that. Oh, where did Nancy go? Hey, view full discussion. Dreamweaver, there we go. I gotta find my place again. Oh, geez, we're up near the top. One more time, we gotta go down. Just not a very functional comment site for the Strib. You could do just a little bit better. I want to read you one comment that supports me, if that's okay. There we go. All right. March 1944. Jay is probably the most sane and intelligent citizen Orono has. He's never once spoken something that's not grounded in facts of a situation, does not scream or yell, and has every right to be outraged by what the city has been doing to him for years. That's not from me. That's another citizen of Orono who's seen what's gone on. Sounds like not political. Sounds like predominantly people who are accustomed to getting their way because they have purchased their way through life's issues rather than negotiating their way. Wealthy folks often do this. So next one. Whether you like Welsh action on policy or not, these citizens are just plain nuts. Really? So after watching all of this live stream, what have I said or done that's nuts? I have over 1,000 videos on YouTube. Please watch any of them and show me where I am nuts. This is just someone else one more time insulting. Behavior like that equals Trump. There's your agenda. No moral decorum or anything. A family threats. Yep, the radicals' way. Well, I hate to tell you, Walsh is the one who threatened my family. We went through that earlier. And you know what? Do you know who said that his behavior was extremely troubling? It was the appeals court in Minnesota. 3 judges said that Walsh's behavior was troubling when he was harassing and threatening my family. That's not me, that's him. I don't have a DWI where I called the cops terrible names. I tried kicking out the windows in the car. I spit all over everything. That's Dennis, Saber, and Walsh, Orono mayor, who did that. That's his behavior. That's who he is. I could tell you some of the rumors I heard. All right, so I kind of disagree. The only Trumpian behavior here is Walsh's. He regularly denies the community its voice and is downright rude and dismissive of people's concern. Next is Truth from WLH 2424. Didn't they have a voice in the election? Well, Walsh, there is no election for Walsh this year because they changed it from running every 2 years for mayor to every 4 years. And he did that so that he could save money. So they wouldn't have to violate election laws anymore, I guess. Yeah, right here. Actually, no, the mayor has a new end-run policy is implemented, go around planning commission and the citizens of Orono. It's called the consent agenda, and the city council votes against the planning commission if they see fit. The lack of procedural process is possibly the greatest point here. That's what I've been saying the whole time. Thank you, Trends 11. lack of public hearings, subcommittee work, sessions, not recording work, sessions, all of that. Absolutely. Thank you, Trend 11. Okay, it's another Trump comment. I still don't think a mayor should ever call his constituents clowns or wildly use his gavel. Perhaps people are acting this way because their elected officials are ignoring them. Perhaps they are sick of inside deals for buddies. Perhaps, Abby B, perhaps. Here's mine. Of course, you have it completely backwards on who is being disrespectful as I'm replying to somebody else. I suppose you are just fine with Walsh et al. Violating state statute to sell a fire lane to a public official who is his only campaign donor. Maybe try actually watching some meetings so you can comment with knowledge, I say. Orono, Hillman Township, 2 Harbors, the Three Stooges. This is exactly why quality candidates don't get involved in city government. And that's absolutely true. Thank you for publishing this, Ag Basher. Walsh and the Orono City Council are corrupt on an epic scale and act with impunity. Giving away valuable land on Lake Minnetonka for pennies on the dollar is just a smoke in the air. This all reminds me of the control freaks in Aiken, Minnesota. No possibility of being reasonable for the people. For Orono, it's the richest one that wins. That's absolutely true. And I can prove that to you. I have. I'm not going to now, but I can prove that to you. If you're in it's like high school out here. If you're in the clique, you get what you want. If you're not, you don't. It's that simple. In Aiken, it's old-time residents versus anyone that tries to move there. I think Strib recently had an article about a street up there that was vacated. So it's kind of similar. Not really, though. The people in power all want to be like their idol, where money and BS go hand in hand. Sounds corrupt. The mayor sounds like a quality public servant. Not. Bunch of rich babies out in Orono. Entitlement issues. I'm not from Orono, but do live near the lake, and there are so many in this story with long histories of thinking local rules don't apply. Now, you see, that's a direct shot at me. And here, do a bit of research on Jay Nygaard, married to a McMillan, if memory serves me right, for example. So here's the deal. He couldn't even get that right. Mr. Holstj, Holstj. I am not. I am married to Kendall Nygaard, who was Kendall Diebel, who was from Buffalo and Robbinsdale before that. I did not marry into money. I do not have married wealth. I do not have inherited wealth. Neither of us do. Seems like the current officials are just carrying on the long tradition. No, the current officials are doing everything they can to change your tradition. Trying to take over the fire department, giving away public land. That's all changing the tradition. But I'm going to take a shot at you here, Mr. Holtz, whatever you are. I challenge you to stop by, to give me a call, send me a message, and I would be more than happy to have a sit-down conversation with you just like this, where everybody can watch, and we can discuss your lack of research. Just do a bit of research. Why didn't you do research to see who I was married to? I do completely agree. I'm not from Orono, but the history of thinking local rules and laws don't apply. You're absolutely right. But it's not me. And unfortunately, people like you have the huge misunderstanding. Even Orono Deputy Chief Fisher did not know how the law works when I talked to him. He said, I thought, it was federal, the state can make their laws, and local can make more restrictive laws. And I had to explain to a police officer who's enforcing criminal statutes on property laws how it works. Orono is a statutory city, meaning it is required to follow state statutes. If Orono makes a law that violates a state statute, it is illegal, which is when they completely banned wind turbines and we sued Orono. We got that overturned because there's a state statute that allows everybody in Minnesota the right to harvest the wind. So statutory cities have to follow state statutes. They don't get to be more restrictive than the state statute. They have to follow them. So I had to explain to a deputy chief in Orono how the law works. I mean, really? You don't know that as a police? You are criminally charging me and my wife over this stuff. How come you do not understand the law, Mr. Deputy Chief Fisher? I'd like you to answer that. Well, one more time. Oh, and by the way, all I've ever advocated for through the numerous lawsuits I've been involved in and all the harassment we've received is for the city and judges to follow the law. The law. Period. But fortunately, judges, I guess, don't understand the law. And I've had judges admit that to me before. I had one say, well, you should have told me the law sooner, Mr. Nygaard. What? It's my job to tell a judge the law? I've got the transcript where it says it. That would be Judge Susan Robiner. Judge Susan Robiner, who thought it was strange and dangerous that I had my little puppy service animal with me in court. All right, now here's my wife. Not sure what your first paragraph is implying, so I'll let you do that while I respond with facts to the second paragraph. I've been married to Jay Nygaard for 31 years, and I'm not a McMillan, as you spell it, or a McMillan, as in founding Cargill, one of America's largest private companies, or a McMillan, the last name of the former mayor, quoted in the article. So if you're implying he married into wealth and or power, he did not. And what's the point of your third paragraph? So is my wife pointing out you're wrong. And Min Girl, I like a woman who stands up for her man. Thank you, Island Gale. I think Brad likes his image. Walsh is Trump 2.0 and known to intimidate the council and city administrators, which is why they unionized up in Orono. It's exactly why. He disrespects citizens at every turn. 2 months ago, after a resident confronted him for the allotted 5 minutes, cut down public speaking to 3 minutes. The man should not be our mayor and oversaw extending a mayor's term from 2 years to 4 years. Hopefully a candidate for office will shut this down when he resigns. We don't have an election every few years. It's now every 4 instead of every 2, Mr. Grumpy Cow. Liberal resident and wealthy Orono, I'm shocked. Do as I say, not as I do, I suspect, which is exactly how it works around here. Excuse me. Okay, I may live in a wealthy city, but she's not. There's a lot of people out here who aren't wealthy. Okay, some people are just barely scrambling to get by, but if someone builds a $5 million house next door to them, their taxes go up and they're forced to move. It's a fact of life out here. Now, Walsh seems more saying the citizens yelling and screaming. Okay, there aren't citizens yelling and screaming. That is complete BS. There is one person who has been loud. That's it. Do not live there, but have little sympathy for either side. Citizens are now. See, when someone starts going to the Trump card, you just lose me. Yeah, he seems real sane reading a newspaper when he's elected to listen and represent his citizens. I don't know if the right-of-way deal was crooked or not, but it stinks of cronyism that one fellow manipulated the deal of a lifetime. We also know swampland being cleaned up is ignoring the need for watershed, and which is exactly the need for that. And they serve needs of the habitat, but also help prevent or reduce future issues, which is exactly what the DNR said. This guy completely boiled down the DNR. Look, it's already being used. It is watershed. However, when a small, single, well-heeled resident seems to be an obstacle to a bike trail in the public park, that makes the resident seem as questionable. I oddly wonder if the mayor is just part of that same clan and their wars are impacting the lesser citizens of Orono as they play their silly elitist games. You need not wonder. It's our reality. What I wonder about is why no one had the courage to stand up against Walsh during the last election. He ran uncontested. Big donors paid big bucks to ensure his reelection. There's out of work mayor in 2 harbors that might fit in down in Orono. How about an underwater hotel in Stubbs Bay? Yeah, that would be hard. The water clarity in Stubbs Bay is terrible. Almost looks like you can walk on it. If Orono wants to be first-class crazy czar, look back at Greenfield. Yeah, they had some issues. Mayor and 2 council members come packing heat to city council meetings, and one of the council members opens his coat, one of the pistol falls out of the floor. They lost their insurance for the League of Cities. Then through a bunch of open meeting violations. The early start, yeah. I don't get, where's the League of Cities on this? You're allowing this to happen. In fact, you're defending these criminals. And you have, repeatedly. Your League of Cities is corrupt as any organization is. And if someone tries to tell you they're not public, that's BS, because I did a data request and they were required to fulfill it, which means they're a public entity. No matter where their money comes from, the cities. Where do the cities get their money? From the public. Okay. So glad this isn't Hillman Township. More immaturity posing as leadership. A person who calls other people clowns is going to have a hard time gathering sympathy for personal attacks. Pretty sleazy land deal, too. Chaska went through the same thing. Strange bunch of people. Glad not live there now. Plan to visit. You can see where this was going after the first paragraph. My own experiences with the mayor have been minor but not pleasant. In corresponding about the boathouses versus dedicated beachland, other council members were open to conversation. The mayor's response was essentially, shut up. This is someone else, I have no idea who it is, who tried conversing with Walsh, and Walsh was a jerk, at least according to them. And I think we're getting near the end. I live in a 130-year-old small cottage on this lake. My property taxes equals my annual income. Only a reverse mortgage makes it possible to stay here, right? Most living on the lake are very rich, but not all. This one's good. 78 years old means you need to cede your land to the Dean Phillips of the world so they can tear it down. Well, I'd say Dennis Walsh's and Bob Erickson's, and build a $10 million mansion on the lake with a 10,000 square foot boat dock sticking 100 feet out into the lake. With this mayor, I'm surprised he hasn't already eminent domained it so his friend can add 9.7 million new money to the Orono property tax rolls for the greater good. The public, you'll love living out your last years in senior home in Robbinsdale, Brooklyn Park. Great views of the city from there. After all, it's for the greater good of Orono. There's still time to vote GOP to stop this. Not sure about voting GOP, but a nice sarcastic comment there that really does put it into perspective. Because that's what I said earlier. People are being chased out of this city all the time. Load more, and there are a few more. Wish I could get a deed of lake access to Minnetonka for $100,000. I wish I could get any access. Public launches galore, sure. Make friends with Denny. Actually, you got to donate to his campaign too. So donate $1,200 to his next campaign, you and your wife or your partner or whatever. And then, like my wife said at the last meeting, get your name on the list because there's only so many fire lanes in Orono. Only so many. There it goes. Yeah, I think I'm going to be done with those. That's most of the comments. What I want to do is get over to the video so I can see what the comments are. There we go. You can all see my live stream deal going on here. How many people have been watching and all. That's kind of cool. Whoa, we do have a buck. Get him, Turbine Guy. There you go. Donate $1,800 to your campaign for a fire lane in a fire department. That's right. How are they going to staff a fire department? And that's absolutely the deal. Absolutely the deal. Now, finally, the truth is coming out. That's my son, Kaler. JJ Pearson. Thank you, JJ. Turbine Guy says a great big thanks for throwing $2 in there, helping the Turbine Guy out. More people are welcome to do that. Star Tribune did a great job. Front page of the newspaper is now a joke. Oh, compared to yesterday's. Yeah, I'm going to give John credit, John Reiner. He did write a good balanced story, and he was mostly factual, and he can't help if Walsh is lying to him. He just can't help that. But that's the way it is. Positive Jeterson. Thanks, Turbine Guy, for providing transparent review of the important relevant information. Keep up the good work, Jay. Things finally getting shook up. These haters are just trying to get you emotional. Why do people keep talking about Trump? This has nothing to do with him. Absolutely. The national references are meaningless to me in this. The only thing that really matters is what's going on in this community and how we have what I consider to be a bunch of criminals up there voting to give crap to their buddies. Glitterfart gave me a sandwich or something. Correction, it was Target Big Shot, I think, CEO who blocked the eating disorder center. He did want some ladies barfing on his roses. Yeah. By reviewing the page in print reader mode, then links. Okay. I'm not sure what that is, but okay, so it was a Target example. But it was the neighbors too when they did the eating disorder. I remember reading in the paper and just shaking my head and going, come on, these are girls who don't eat. How dangerous can they be? Good Call Glitter says, Patrick Lewis, I miss public duels. Hell, I challenge Adam Kokish. Well, I could be on that. It's been a while. I should be on Adam's again. Maybe I'll give Adam a call and see. Gaylor Roast. It's like people can only think Trump. How we let these people vote is beyond me. I don't get that one. Look forward to the end. We can expose hesitant servants. I don't get that one, sorry. Good job. Patrick Lewis, love y'all. Hell yeah, Patrick. Shalom. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. I've been going for an hour and a half. It's been a while. I've had a pretty good, as you can see, I've had a pretty good turnout. I have my first ever, or one of my first ever donations here. I'm not going to report. Gave a big shout out to J.J. Pearson for helping me. And, you know, the whole purpose of this exercise this afternoon, I've lived here. I've lived through it. I've filmed it. I've been there. I'm the guy who's seen what's going on and will tell you the unfiltered truth. That's who I am. And I read the article and I started going through the comments. I just wanted to make sure that we were in agreement, or we could see what the actual facts were. That's what was important to me. And I hope I got that across to y'all. I hope I did. You can always contact me, leave comments below, because I'll leave this up for everybody to watch. You can contact me anytime, or in the comments, or send me an email, whatever. My website's gogreenenergyonline.com, gogreenenergyonline.com. You can find my email there. And then from all of that, I'm more than happy to sit down. I challenge the one person to sit here and talk to me. I challenge anybody. You know what? I challenge Orono Mayor Dennis Walsh to sit down on my live stream and have a discussion. I challenge Orono Councilman Aaron Printup to sit down and have an honest and open discussion. I challenge Orono Councilman Richard Crosby to sit down and do it. I challenge Orono Councilman Matt Johnson to sit down with me and have an open discussion about this. And I challenge Victoria Seals, councilwoman in Orono as well. We do have two people running. I think Eddie Rice, I challenge you to sit down, or invite you. I'm going to invite Eddie. I challenge the others. And I'm going to invite the other candidate that's running. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. But you know what? This is about openness. This is about factual. This is about correctness. This is about truth and honesty. And I challenge the entire Orono City Council, the city administrator. You know who I really challenge? Soren Maddock. So I know he's too gutless to sit down with me and explain to me what an obvious sale can be listed as a transaction. To explain to me why he wanted to leave me in jail when I complied with the contempt order, which, by the way, he admitted the other day. I would love to, but I'm just going to suggest and guess that none of them have the courage to come and sit in front of y'all and talk to me openly about any of this stuff. Well, folks, Turbine Guy, gotta go have some dinner. I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to thank you for joining me. Turbine Guy, signing off.